invitation to a galactic peace summit is answered, not with flowers or flags, but with a fully armed warship. A ship built for battle, carrying a message of peace, surrounded by species that fear what they don't understand. One wrong move could start a war. One right word could change humanity's future forever. And the captain? He has just 12 hours to turn a war machine into a symbol of hope. New here? Then please subscribe to this channel and show a thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move toward this wonderful story. Captain Silas Roan leaned back in the command chair of the Valores, his eyes fixed on the endless stars outside the viewport. The hum of the ship's systems filled the bridge like a mechanical lullaby, soothing in its familiarity. A mug of lukewarm tea sat untouched beside him, forgotten as he read through the daily report scrolling across the holoscreen. The Valorous wasn't a glamorous ship, not designed for fancy missions or first contact. It was a tough, reliable vessel, built more for survival than ceremony. That's what made the message that arrived next all the more surprising. A chime rang softly across the bridge, followed by a voice from comms. Captain, direct channel from Earth Command. It's Admiral Juna Vor, high priority. Silas straightened, smoothing the front of his uniform with a sigh. Put it through. The image of Admiral Vor blinked into view, slightly distorted by the long-distance relay. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice carried the tone of someone who'd made a decision and expected no debate. Captain Roan, Earth has just received an official invitation to attend a diplomatic summit with the Interstellar Union. You're going? Silas raised an eyebrow. We're going. Admiral, with all due respect, the Valorous is an exploration-class cruiser, a heavily armed one. We're not exactly the friendly welcome wagon. Vor nodded without a hint of humor. I'm aware, but the envoy ship designated for this mission had a drive malfunction, and the Valorous is the only human ship within range to make the meeting on time. The Union has requested a face-to-face meeting in neutral space. It's the opportunity we've been waiting for. Silas resisted the urge to rub his forehead. We're practically a flying weapons platform, Admiral. They'll take one look at us and think Earth came to pick a fight. We've already explained that the ship was repurposed for multi-purpose missions, Vor said, her voice flat. Science, defense, diplomacy. Valorous fits the bill on paper. That's all that matters right now. You'll carry a diplomatic team aboard, disable non-essential weapon systems, and keep your ship's posture non-aggressive. Silas sighed. And if that doesn't convince them, then you'll do what you do best, Captain. Think fast. Speak carefully and don't make us look like a bunch of amateurs. The screen flickered off before Silas could respond. He sat in silence for a long moment, the glow of the bridge lights catching the gray at his temples. Of all the ships in the fleet, it had to be his. He tapped the intercom. First Officer Jin, report to the bridge, and tell Mira to prepare a preliminary briefing on the Interstellar Union. I want to know what kind of neighbors we're about to make small talk with. The bridge door hissed open seconds later. Lieutenant Theo Jin stepped in, one eyebrow already raised. You look like you just got volunteered for something unpleasant. Silas pointed to the empty space on the view screen. We're going to a diplomatic summit. The Union wants to meet face-to-face, and Earth wants us to play the role of gracious guests. Theo snorted. That'll be tricky. Our forward cannons still say otherwise. No kidding, Silas muttered. Start the process of shutting down everything that might scream aggression. No external weapons, deactivate the targeting sensors and put something non-threatening on the external lighting if we can. You want friendly mode or painfully awkward? Theo asked with a smirk. Let's aim for reluctant charm. The next few hours were a blur of controlled chaos. Systems were put into standby, panels were replaced with plain shielding, and even the ship's AI assistant had its voice filter adjusted to sound less intimidating. Science Officer Helen Mira uploaded detailed cultural profiles of Union species to the crew's tablets, preparing them for the strange customs and potential missteps ahead. Despite their best efforts, the ship still looked like what it was, a HFY battle-hardened cruiser wearing a polite disguise. Silas stood on the observation deck as the stars shifted subtly ahead of them, the ship preparing to jump to the rendezvous coordinates. He heard footsteps behind him. Helen Mira joined him, her dark hair tied back, a datapad in hand. "The diplomatic team will arrive within the hour," she said. 5 people. Led by Ambassador Lynn Duran. He's experienced, but, let's just say, not thrilled to be riding in a gunship. Silas chuckled softly. "He can take it up with command. We're not thrilled to be the gunship either." Helen tilted her head, watching him with thoughtful eyes. "Do you think this is a good idea? Sending a ship like ours to a meeting like this?" Silas didn't answer right away. He looked out at the stars, thinking of the fragile balance of power they were about to approach. One wrong impression could cost Earth its future among the stars. Or maybe, just maybe, it could earn them respect. "I think," he said finally, "that sometimes you show strength not by hiding it but by controlling it. If they're the kind of species we can work with, they'll understand that." Helen nodded slowly. "Let's hope you're right." As the countdown to jump began, the ship's lights dimmed for the FTL transition. Silas turned away from the viewport and made his way back to the bridge. In 12 hours, they'd arrive at a station built by civilizations older than anything on Earth. They'd carry hopes, questions, and the weight of a world not yet judged. For now, they moved silently through the stars, a weapon-shaped vessel, dressed in patience, heading into the unknown with a diplomat's words and a warrior's heart. The diplomatic team arrived at Docking Bay 7 with calm expressions and tightly packed luggage. Ambassador Lynn Doran stepped off the shuttle first, his posture upright, his silver hair slicked back with the precision of someone who expected everything to go exactly as planned. His suit, pressed to perfection, stood in contrast to the more practical uniforms of the Valoris crew. Lynn Doran was not used to flying on military ships, and he made no effort to hide his surprise when his first full view of the Valoris came into sight. The ship was massive and dark, its exterior freshly repainted in an attempt to hide scorch marks and battle-worn plates. The hull, though cleaned up, still carried the clear shape of something designed to intimidate, not charm. Even with its weapon systems powered down and external sensors dimmed, there was no mistaking its purpose. Captain Silas Roan stepped forward to greet the new arrivals. He extended a hand with a respectful nod. "Ambassador Doran, welcome aboard the Valoris." Lynn shook the captain's hand, studying him with sharp eyes. "Captain Roan, I was told this ship had been repurposed for multi-role assignments. From here, it still looks like a flying fortress." Silas offered a half-smile. "We've done our best to soften the look. Unfortunately, we weren't built for show, but you'll find the ride smooth, and the crew even smoother." Behind the ambassador, the rest of the diplomatic team followed. 5 individuals in total, 3 aides, 1 translator, and a cultural attaché named Cora Vale, who gave Silas a quiet, curious look before turning her attention to her datapad. First Officer. Theo Jin stepped up beside Silas, nodding politely at the group. "Ambassador, if you and your team would follow me, I'll show you to the temporary diplomatic suite. We did our best to make it comfortable." As the group disappeared down the corridor, Silas turned to Chief Engineer Mari Kelso, who was waiting, with a tablet full of system updates. "How's it going?" he asked. Mari made a face. "We've got the turrets folded away, outer cannons powered down, and I even swapped out the red glow panels for a friendlier shade of blue. But the ship still looks like it's ready to start a war." Silas glanced toward the display screens, showing the ship's external profile. No matter how much paint or lighting they changed, the Valoris still looked like a ship built to survive a galaxy that wasn't always kind. "We can't change what we are," Silas said. "We just have to make sure we act the part we're being given." Back in the repurposed officers' lounge, now awkwardly labeled the diplomatic suite, the ambassador's team began settling in. The lounge had been hastily rearranged, with folding partitions and soft chairs pulled from various parts of the ship. Someone had even placed a few decorative plants near the walls, though one was clearly artificial and slightly tilted to the left. Ambassador Doran sat down at the central table, reviewing their schedule. "We have 36 hours before we arrive at the meeting point. That gives us time to finalize our approach. Cora, Have you reviewed the latest data on the Union Council members? Cora Vale nodded, scrolling through her display. Yes, and I've included gesture maps and phrase expectations based on known speech patterns. There's still a lot we don't know, though. Most species in the Council haven't had formal encounters with humans before. And that's why this meeting matters, Lynn said, tapping the table. We need to show them we are advanced, reasonable, and not dangerous. That means staying polite, speaking cautiously, and not letting our hosts do anything dramatic. From the hallway, Theo Jin raised an eyebrow at that last comment. He had excellent hearing and a knack for sarcasm, though he kept it to himself for now. Later that evening, Silas called a meeting with key bridge crew and the ambassador. They sat around the main operations table, blue light glowing beneath their elbows as the projected star map hovered above them. "This is the approach route," Silas said, pointing to the highlighted path. "We'll drop out of FTL just outside the neutral corridor, then make a slow entry. No sudden movements, and we keep all transmissions open for transparency." Ambassador Doran nodded. "We need to avoid even a hint of secrecy. These species will be watching for any signs of hidden aggression." "Good luck with that," Theo muttered under his breath. Mari smirked beside him. "We're not here to start a conflict," Silas said firmly. "But we're also not here to pretend we're something we're not. If they ask about the ship's past missions, we answer carefully but honestly. No lying, no showing off. Just facts." Helen Mira chimed in from the end of the table. "We've loaded pre-recorded Earth cultural references in case of questions. Everything from literature to music to peaceful technological achievements. Hopefully it'll show them more than our ship's armor." "Let's hope that works," Silas said. "We're painting ourselves for peace, but we still need to be ready for whatever comes next." Everyone in the room nodded. They knew how quickly a peaceful meeting could turn tense, especially with misunderstandings. The galaxy was filled with unknowns, and while Earth was new to these halls of diplomacy, they wouldn't walk in naive. As the meeting broke up and the crew dispersed, Silas remained for a moment longer, eyes on the projected stars. Even dressed up in blue lights and peaceful intentions, the Valorous still carried its scars beneath the surface, and so did its captain. But maybe, just maybe, that was what made them the right ones for the job. They weren't trying to look harmless. They were trying to prove that strength could be wise and warships could carry peace. 3 days later, the Valorous dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the neutral corridor. Space was silent and vast, but ahead of them floated the most breathtaking structure any of them had ever seen. The diplomatic station didn't look like a fortress or a shipyard. It looked like a giant crystal snowflake, delicate and shining, its silver arms slowly rotating in a symmetrical dance around a glowing core. The light reflected off its surface in waves, creating a shimmer like sunlight on a frozen lake. "Captain," Silas Roan sat forward in his chair, eyebrows raised. "That's not what I expected." Standing nearby, Ambassador Lynn Doran joined him at the viewport. "It's beautiful," he said, sounding genuinely impressed for the first time since boarding the Valorous. "They want us to feel welcome." Silas wasn't convinced. Or they want to distract us from the fact that nothing on that station looks defensible. Helen Mira, the science officer, tilted her head thoughtfully. "Their culture may have evolved past needing visible defenses. They could be more advanced than we guessed. Or they're hiding it really well." "First," Officer Theo Jin added, arms crossed. Silas turned to the tactical console. "Lieutenant Vale, begin passive scans only. Let's not poke too hard before we've even said hello." Liaison Officer Karem Vale's fingers danced across his station. "Running passive scan now, sir. Low energy pulse, just background data." The results appeared on the screen, but there wasn't much to read. The station's surface seemed to scatter the ship's sensors, absorbing and diffusing energy in unusual patterns. No clear readings on interior layouts, defensive mechanisms, or even power sources. "Well," Theo said, "that's convenient." Before Silas could reply, the communication officer, Eliza Okafor, turned in her seat. "We're being hailed, audio and visual." "Put them through," Silas said, standing straight and adjusting his uniform collar. Let's make a good impression. The screen shifted to show a creature unlike anything from Earth. It looked somewhat like an octopus, its skin a deep blue with faint purple shimmer. It floated in a harness of gold and silver, small mechanical limbs assisting its movement. Multiple eyes blinked slowly at the camera, and its voice came through a translator with crisp, slightly formal English. Greetings, humans of the vessel, Valoris. I am Coordinator Tharnak of the Interstellar Union Welcome Committee. We are pleased to receive your diplomatic team. Ambassador Doran stepped forward, his smile practiced and polite. Thank you, Coordinator Tharnak. I am Ambassador Lynn Doran of Earth. We come in peace and with hope to begin a lasting relationship with the Union. Tharnak's tentacles waved in what may have been a gesture of approval. We are honored by your presence. Docking Bay 9 is prepared for your vessel. Before boarding, we are required to perform a technological assessment. For security reasons, it is standard protocol for all new species. Lynn Doran glanced at Silas, who gave a short nod. We understand, Coordinator. Please proceed. Tharnak dipped slightly. We begin now. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a low vibration passed through the deck plates of the Valoris. It was subtle, almost like a soft breeze brushing against metal. Silas frowned, recognizing the sensation from earlier scan tests, but this one was stronger. Lieutenant Vale turned to him, voice quiet but tense. Captain, their scan is much deeper than we were led to believe. It's cutting through everything. They're analyzing our engine specs, defense systems, even classified tech. Silas didn't move, but he felt his jaw tighten. On the screen, the alien's expression had shifted. Tharnak's many eyes widened, and several of its tentacles moved quickly, tapping unseen controls. Is something wrong, Coordinator? Ambassador, Doran asked, his voice even. There was a brief pause. Then Tharnak replied, though the translator's tone was different now, slightly higher, more cautious. Your ship is fascinating. It appears to be equipped with highly advanced and powerful defensive technologies. We believe in being prepared, Doran said smoothly. Of course, Tharnak responded. However, there appears to be a discrepancy. We were expecting a dedicated diplomatic vessel. Silas stepped forward. The Valoris is a multi-purpose vessel, Coordinator. It's capable of science, humanitarian aid, exploration, and, if necessary, defense. Earth designs. It ships for flexibility. We never know what we'll face out here. There was another long pause. Then Tharnak's voice came again. Please remain in position. I must consult the Council regarding the docking protocols for vessels of your configuration. The screen went dark. For several seconds, no one on the bridge spoke. The silence was thick with tension. Well, Theo said finally, I think we made an impression. Ambassador Doran turned to Silas, his polite smile no longer reaching his eyes. What exactly did they just see? Everything, Lieutenant Vale said. They now know our shield capacity, our backup cores, our hidden drone launchers, all of it. Helen Mira spoke softly. This could go two ways. Either they see us as dangerous, or they see us as strong. Silas stood quietly, staring at the blank screen. They had come to make peace, but they'd arrived in a ship that was built to survive, not to charm. Still, they had nothing to hide. Earth was new to the stars, but not naive. They would offer trust, not surrender. Let's hope, he said. They understand the difference. Hours passed with no word from the Interstellar Union. The Valoris remained motionless outside the glittering station, lights dimmed, weapons silent, and crew tense. The once active bridge had grown quiet, each officer focused on their tasks, but glancing up now and then at the blank screen that had shown Coordinator Tharnak. Captain Silas Roan stood near the main display, arms crossed, his jaw set. Waiting had never been his strength, especially not when the future of Earth's place in the galaxy hung in the balance. Ambassador Lynn Doran sat calmly in one of the bridge seats, legs crossed, datapad resting in his lap. Though his posture was relaxed, his eyes were sharp and alert. He broke the silence with a question aimed at Silas. "Do you think they're going to deny us entry?" Silas didn't answer right away. He had considered that possibility, and he knew his crew had too. "I think they didn't expect us to show up in a ship like this," he said. "And now they're arguing over whether that means we're honest or dangerous." Theogen let out a slow breath from his station. Honesty and danger aren't always separate. Helen Mira turned from her console. "Maybe this is part of their test. See how we react to uncertainty. If we panic or demand answers, they'll know we're not ready." "Or," Theo muttered, "they're just deciding whether to let us anywhere near their fancy snowflake station." Suddenly, Eliza at communications sat up straighter. "Incoming transmission from Coordinator Tharnak." "Put it through," Silas said, every voice on the bridge falling silent as the screen flickered back to life. Tharnak appeared, still, seated in the golden harness, though this time there were two more beings visible behind him. Different species, both unfamiliar, their bodies shimmering with strange lights and patterns. The atmosphere seemed heavier, the room behind the alien darker than before. "Captain Roan, Ambassador Doran, thank you for your patience," Tharnak began. "We have completed our evaluation of your vessel and consulted with the Union Council. The scan revealed much that we did not expect." Doran leaned slightly forward. "We hope you understand that while the Valoris is armed, our presence here is peaceful." "We do understand," Tharnak said. "In fact, it is your ship's nature that sparked deep discussion among our members. Many assumed Earth would present itself as a young, eager world, unarmed, seeking protection, begging for acceptance. But instead, you arrived prepared, quiet, and confident." Silas raised an eyebrow. "And that's a problem?" "No," Tharnak replied. "It is, surprising, and perhaps impressive." There was a pause, and then the second alien behind Tharnak, a tall figure of shifting light and smoke, spoke, through a new translator. "We have admitted species before who spoke of peace but carried no defense. Some were wiped out within a decade by threats they did not anticipate. Others became burdens. Your ship is a contradiction. It carries peace but does not fear violence. This shows maturity, not naivety." Tharnak continued. "Therefore, we have decided to offer Earth provisional entry into the Interstellar Union. As a new member, you will be granted observer status on the Council, with full diplomatic rights pending further evaluation over the coming cycles." Silas felt a slow breath escape his lungs. Around the bridge, the crew exchanged silent looks of cautious relief. Lynn Doran's expression softened just slightly, the tension in his shoulders easing. "We're honored," Doran said. "We look forward to learning from your people and contributing to peace in the galaxy." Tharnak's eyes blinked slowly. "We expect much from Earth. Your actions from this point will shape not only your own future, but the way others see your species." The screen faded again, this time with a brief flash of golden light, apparently a Union sign of agreement. Theo let out a long breath and leaned back in his chair. "So, we passed?" Silas nodded. "Looks like it. But only barely," Mira added. "We were one wrong move from losing everything." Ambassador Doran stood and turned to Silas. "You handled it well, Captain. They saw our strength and they saw our restraint. That combination was more valuable than pretending to be harmless." Silas gave a quiet nod. "I think that's what they were hoping to see. That we're strong, but thoughtful. That we're capable but not reckless." The Valoris was granted clearance to dock. As the ship glided slowly toward the station, its engines humming softly, the light from the station danced across its armored hull, armor that was no longer hidden but accepted as part of what made the ship and its people complete. Later that evening, as the crew settled and the diplomats began preparing for their first formal talks, Silas stood alone on the observation deck. He watched the stars shift and move through the giant station's windows. So much had changed in just a few days, but he knew this was only the beginning. Earth had stepped onto the galactic stage not by pretending to be something it wasn't, but by standing tall as what it truly was. Behind him, Theo approached, 2 mugs of tea in hand. He handed one to Silas. So, what do you think they'll expect from us now? Silas sipped the tea and stared into the stars. To act like we belong. He didn't say more. He didn't need to. The Valoris had come to deliver peace dressed in steel, and now, for the first time, the galaxy was listening.